I don't know about you, but this felt like a massive series win for the Red Sox. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin. The second best team in baseball came to town, only to lose 2 out of 3 games to the Boston Red Sox. And for the first time in a little bit here, the Red Sox are coming out of a series above 500. They're officially at 35-34 on the year. Still good for third place in the division. And unfortunately, they ended up not really moving in the wild card race, still 2 games back. But this series, regardless, still felt like a really important one. So what we are going to do in today's video is we're going to break this series down, talk about the good, talk about the bad, and how this could impact the 2024 Red Sox. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. I think what really stood out to me in this series was just the sheer power of the Red Sox offense, and there were a lot of stars in this one. One of the big ones being David Hamilton. He continues to make waves offensively. He's currently on a 5-game hit streak with a hit in at least 1 hit in all 3 games of this series, including a home run, a double, and 3 RBIs. I said it yesterday, but at least offensively, a lot of us owe David Hamilton an apology. He's been absolutely fantastic for the Red Sox lately and continues to be a really big piece for this Red Sox offense. We'll see how that progresses over the course of the year. And speaking of being really great for the offense, Jarren Duran continues to make a push to be an AL All-Star. He had a hit in all 3 games, including 3 more doubles that push him up to the second most extra bases in the AL. He also had 3 RBIs in this series. Kind of crazy to say, but David Hamilton and Jarren Duran have been a really fun 1-2 punch at the top of the lineup lately. I really kind of like that combination. We'll see how it plays against the New York Yankees. Rafael Devers didn't have the craziest series production-wise, or at least RBI-wise, but he still had 4 hits in the last 2 games with a double and his 3rd triple of the year. Even Rafael Devers looks faster this year somehow. He now has the same amount of triples he had in all of the 2020 through 2023 seasons combined. He is 1 triple away from his career high, which is 4 back in 2019. He looks absolutely fantastic at the plate. Tyler O'Neill also looks like he's found his groove again a little bit. He had 3 hits in 2 games, including a mammoth home run in the finale. Him getting healthy is absolutely awesome for this lineup, and we'll talk about health in a bit, but I think he specifically getting healthy and getting right at the plate is a really, really big addition to this lineup. And Manuel Valdez is slowly getting it together here. He had a couple of massive hits in this one. He had 3 total hits. All of them were for extra bases, and he also had 3 RBIs as well. Since coming back up to Major League Baseball, he's hitting .323 with a .382 on base percentage and a 774 slug in 12 games. He looks like a completely different player in his second time through at the Major League level. I don't know if that's sustainable or not, but he had some really big moments in this series. There were a ton of really solid performances from the offense in this series. I think what really stood out to me is that they hit really good pitching. That's been an issue all year for the Red Sox, right? They go up against really solid pitchers and they just sort of crumble a little bit, specifically if those pitchers are lefties. Well, in this series, not only did they beat 2 sub-3 ERA starters, they also beat a sub-3 ERA lefty. That's big news for the Red Sox, in my opinion. The other thing that really stood out to me offensively is that they had a big come-from-behind win. In the second game of this series, they were down 4-0, and they came back and won that game. I don't think that's happened at all yet this year, so that's a big moment for the Boston Red Sox offense. But I think more importantly, what really stood out to me in this series is how different this offense looks healthier, right? You got Tyler O'Neill back in this series. Rafi came back in this series. He looked like he was closer to 100%. Even Massa, who didn't really do anything in this series, just being in that lineup, being a guy who's going to strike out less and make contact more, really sort of transforms the entire outlook of this Red Sox offense. And it's something we've really been talking about for a few days now, right? We talk all the time about, hey, this team could look completely different, fully healthy, and we're starting to see the beginnings of that in this series. To me, this was the best offensive series of the year because of the things and the storylines that they overcome in order to get 2 out of 3 games here. I'm absolutely ecstatic about what this offense did, and I'm really encouraged by what we saw from this offense in this series. And it's not just the big name guys. guys. Role players were getting big hits too. Say Don Rafaela had big hits in this series. Dominic Smith had big hits in this series, right? That's what you need, and we talk about it all the time with this Red Sox offense. You need the role players to come in here and have big moments, and they did in this series. Overall, when you're looking at the offense, there's really not much to complain about here, and they took a lot of storylines that were surrounding the offense and sort of flipped it on its head. And I know it's just one series. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it was really fantastic to watch. Let's talk about the pitching in this series as well, but before we get into the pitching, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button as well. Not only does it help these videos out a ton and mean a lot to me, but it's also the best way you can let me know that you're enjoying the content we are putting out. Thank you all very much for doing so. Let's get into the pitching here. As for the starting pitching in this series, I would say overall it was solid. It certainly wasn't the best starting pitching series of the year, but it wasn't bad either. Cutter Crawford started this series off. He went 6 innings, 4 runs technically crossed the plate, but only 2 of them were earned. He struck out 8 and allowed 2 home runs. I think this is one of the better overall starts we've seen from Cutter in about a month, which is a really encouraging sign. Yes, Schwarber did get to him twice, but outside of that, he was pretty dominant. Just sort of sucks that the defense let him down in this game because his stat line should have looked a whole lot better. His ERA is slowly creeping back towards that sub-3 mark, which is fantastic. I don't think he actually gets there, but to see him go out there and have a good game against a really good team was a really encouraging sign for someone who's really struggled over the past few weeks. Nick Pivetta did not look as sharp at all. He only managed to go 4 innings. He allowed 4 earned on 6 hits. He walked 4 and struck out 4 as well. Just a whole lot of 4s on Nick's stat line there. Not really a good thing. Don't love that start from Nick. Would have absolutely liked to have seen at least a little bit deeper into the game, right? He was getting into a lot of 3-2 counts. The Phillies were really working him in terms of counts. He was getting hosed a little bit by the home plate umpire, but I don't think that's a big enough excuse for Nick Pivetta to not be able to go more than 4 innings. He's supposed to be your workhorse on this team, and he just wasn't able to do that in this series. It wasn't the worst start in the world, but it certainly wasn't the best start either. Finally, Tanner Houck finished this one off, and he got another quality start. That's a whole lot of quality starts on the year from Houck. It wasn't the sharpest he's looked this season. 6 innings, 8 hits, 3 earned. Once again, Schwarber got to him, but didn't walk anybody and struck out 5. If that's Tanner Houck not looking too sharp, I'm a very happy camper. For the first time in a little bit, his ERA is now over 2 at a whopping 2.08. Still, a really solid outing from the Red Sox ace. Again, if you're putting up 6 innings, 3 earned, and people are like, well, not the sharpest you've looked all year, you're doing something really right. As for the bullpen, they remained pretty solid in this series. Shout out to Brad Keller, first of all, for going 3 full innings, not allowing a single earned run to the Philadelphia Phillies. That's an accomplishment in its own right, especially with who Brad Keller is at this point in his career. But overall, the bullpen, again, pretty solid. There were moments, especially in the second game here, where they bent, but they refused to break. They allowed a couple of runs, but held it down enough for the Red Sox to get the win, and that's all you can really ask for in general. So I think taking a look at the pitching on the roster overall, when you take a look at who the opponent was, I would say this was a pretty solid series pitching-wise, especially when you're talking about the bullpen. The only one that really stood out in terms of not a fantastic performance was Nick Pivetta, but again, the offense picked you up in that game, so you can't, at the end of the day, really complain too much about that start. I think getting the starting pitching right and back on track to closer to what it was in April than it was in May is going to be massive going forward, and this series was a big step in that direction. Overall, taking a look at the series as a whole and how it impacts 2024, look, I get it. It's one series, right? The Red Sox have been so bipolar this year. It's hard to take one series and assume it's going to carry over into the next one. And they've been basically up and down this entire season. So I'm kind of fully expecting them to lay an egg against the New York Yankees. But in my opinion, this series was an important one for a couple of different reasons, if not for just this clubhouse itself. The Red Sox need to prove a couple of things. They needed to prove that they could beat legitimately good teams. They have not done that a whole lot this year, and they did it against the second best team in baseball. They needed to prove that they could hit good pitching. They did that twice in this series, again, against sub-2 ERA pitchers, one of them being a lefty, which was another problem with the Red Sox. They needed to prove that they could make come-from-behind wins, and they did that in this series. Again, can we take this and be like, oh, this is where the Red Sox turn a corner? I hope it is, but I can't guarantee that because of what this team has been this year. What I can say is that this has to have a big impact on the clubhouse, right? They've heard the storylines, they understand the statistics, they know that they have struggled against good teams, and these young guys getting the confidence that, hey, we went up against the second best team in Major League Baseball and we beat them twice out of 3 games has to do something for their confidence in this clubhouse. It's giving me confidence in what this Red Sox team could be, and it's giving me even more confidence knowing that the Red Sox are slowly starting to get healthier as well, right? These guys are getting back to this team, and the team's going to look completely different. If this is the type of baseball we're going to be getting from a healthy Boston Red Sox, they could be a bit of a problem this year. And I know, again, it's one series, Corbin. Don't get too excited. I'm trying not to get too excited, but this one to me felt really important because of all the reasons we just listed, but also because this is a young team that thrives on confidence. Once they get their confidence up, they start to play a whole lot better. And in this series, you got a ton of great performances from a lot of younger players, a lot of guys with not a ton of experience, and that's probably going to lend a pretty big hand in getting that confidence up. I am absolutely pumped about what the Red Sox did in this series. My hope is that we look back on this series in 2 months, 3 months, and we say, man, that was a real important series in terms of the grand scheme of things. It was a real turning point for the Boston Red Sox. Again, I can't guarantee that because of how this team has played this year, but it really does feel like this was something special. That's just my opinion though, so let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think? What did you think about this series? What did you think about the good? Was there any bad that you thought stood out to you that I needed to cover more? And what do you think it's going to have impact-wise on the season as a whole? Let me know all your thoughts on the Red Sox beating the second best team in baseball in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this one, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just helps out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. And plus, it's the best way to let me know that you are enjoying the content we are putting out. Don't forget, if you want to listen going forward on the go, you could always listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. The link are in my description down below, or you can head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Send out a prayer for the Red Sox versus the Yankees, and I will see you in the Red Seats.